universal language. The rush of adrenaline. Riding on the ragged edge. For those who will stop at nothing to go faster, it's called Mega Speed. On this episode, tumbling dice at the Mint 400.
There is a car upside down.
Shooting the dirt with the salt of the earth.
We get there for 60 foot, sometimes just under a second.
A jet-setting English eccentric.
Right, now we need a longer runway.
Sometimes school can be a real drag.
I'd rather be changing out a license plate than a transmission right now.
And Indy cars are not supposed to fly.
That's when I close my eyes, because every time you see the skies, nothing good's gonna come out of it.
Las Vegas, Nevada. A gambler's paradise. A desert oasis. But hell on wheels.
We're out there in the middle of the desert on our own.
We'll probably have ruts that are 2 and 3 feet deep.
This is the Mint 400. The king of American off-road racing.
If you're competitive, it's pretty much balls to the wall the whole day.
The course is a 126-mile loop through some of the meanest land on the continent. From Las Vegas to the California border. And they have to do it 3 times. The Mint features 6 classes of vehicles. Everything from dune buggies to the big boys, the over-the-top 4-wheel drive trophy trucks that pack 850 horsepower. At age 50, Rob MacCachren is an off-road legend.
You know, I've been racing since 1982. We have almost 300 wins in off-road racing since I started.
Anybody that knows anything about off-road racing would put him as maybe one of the best drivers of all time.
I've been around longer than any of these other guys.
Last year, Rob won the Baja 1000, the world's toughest off-road race. These young guns, 27-year-old Andy McMillan and 27-year-old Jason Voss, were his co-drivers. But at this year's Mint 400, Andy and Jason are the competition.
Those guys are both quick. They both want to win. Jason Voss is the defending champion of this series last year. Andy McMillan is the defending overall winner of this race. Well, obviously, I'm the wily veteran. Those guys are the young guys.
It's all about endurance and concentration. 1 lapse in concentration at 100 miles an hour with big holes and boulders on the side of the course. Things can go wrong very quickly. Go!
Things will go wrong. That's why no detail is overlooked.
24 seconds.
If you're the first guy to go, the race is in your hands. You're setting the pace, and, you got clear vision, no dust, and it's really nice to be there.
There's 330 entries competing over this 3-lap race. So as we go around 3 times, the track's gonna change.
From bone-jarring drops they call whoops to dry lake beds that leave a mile-long wake. If you're not in the lead, you're eating dust for 6 hours.
Being able to start up front gets us clear of that. Let's just run much quicker pace right from the beginning and hopefully get a gap.
Green flag. Rob MacCachren will start in 5th spot. The trucks are released 2 at a time in 30-second intervals. Just enough time for the dirt cloud to settle. The first time the drivers will see this course is at 100 miles per hour. These 800 horsepower beasts are so quick, even the camera choppers have trouble keeping up. And they're as rugged as they are fast.
He can set the jack before we come down.
Back in the pits, Rob's team is preparing to offer full service.
Right now, we're just getting prepped to do a run through. Truck's on pit lane. He's in. Truck stopped.
There's just one thing missing: a truck.
Truck should be here probably within the next 20 minutes.
When Rob shows up, the practice pays off.
Front flat, front right, front right.
By the time he's up to speed, Rob has moved up to 3rd place.
Great job, guys. Right now, we're running 3rd. We started 5th, so he's already made up time, so we'll see. But we're in the hunt, and let's see how it goes.
We're 120 miles into a 350-mile race, so, but it's a great start. You know what I mean? You got to start somewhere. You got to position the truck strong. We've done that.
But just when everyone is settling in for a bumpy sprint to the finish, the desert bites back.
Somebody's upside down in the middle of the course.
While they kick up dust in the desert, the terrain is a lot colder in Michigan. At the Shoosh Mountain Snow Challenge in upstate Michigan,
How do you like the snow?
downhill racing makes a U-turn.
If you're not scared, you're not having no fun.
With up to 1,200 horsepower, these snow rockets are the ultimate chairlift. Although some are T-bars.
We got a Jeep stuck in the snow at the top of the hill. Going the right direction is a matter of opinion.
It's pretty straightforward. A head-to-head challenge. Fastest to the top wins. Mike Page is a 3-time winner and crowd favorite.
This is our, Daytona 500. We enjoy coming up and doing this.
This is Mike's pal and racing rival, Kip Martin.
I won the Shoosh Mountain Snow Hill Climb 2 times. Mike Page has won it 3.
But this year, the boys will be checking out their rearview mirrors.
Craig Jeski's won it once.
Craig Jeski came out of nowhere to win last year's event. And now Craig's back for more. And he's bought a few bottles of secret sauce to help.
Putting in the nitrous oxide, this is our power adder for the Supermod class. It's depending on the tune that we put in, it could be 100 horse, it could be 400 horse. So we got the bottle hooked up, and then we're gonna go ahead and purge the nitrous off. It's a pretty cool effect.
Mike is old school.
I had nitrous before, and you gotta babysit it, and you gotta get the bottle pressure up and keep it warm. And these temperatures, it's not easy.
So Mike uses a blower, the basic form of supercharging.
You just put fuel in and go. It's almost like a regular streetcar with 1,000 horse. You gotta give it loving. Shine her up, man. Good luck.
Craig has the first crack of the hill. He wins his heat easily. Mike is at the starting gate. Now it's Kip's turn. Kip's luck has gone sideways. It looks like Kip is shaken, but not stirred.
most of the damage is back here for the batteries, but I'm going to try and run tomorrow.
Another successful recovery.
It's a new day with new weather. Kip and his Jeep are back, but the Jeep isn't 100%.
Axle shaft is broke on the front.
Frankly, neither is Kip.
I didn't sleep too well last night. You just wonder if it's going to happen again, because it's we're going a lot faster on this hill, and you know, anything can happen.
Especially on this Black Diamond run. 450 vertical feet.
They call it the face, meaning that it's straight up and down.
It's ready to go. I guess we'll get her up there on the face and see what happens.
Mike, Kip, and Craig get ready for the first round. Mike's first out of the gate. His Jeep has blown a gasket. He's out. Now the door is open for Kip to tie Mike with a third championship. Well, it was a good thought. The primal scream has been reduced to a squeaky whisper. Now it's up to Craig to repeat his championship on the face. He does it. Craig gets his second championship on the hill. No cash, just ice-cold respect. Coming up, a cameo appearance behind the wheel at the Mint 400.
I think the real challenge is with yourself.
And up next, racing with vegetables?
I'll race a piece of lettuce if you can figure out how to mount a motor on it.
In Victorville, California. Dirt flies when you're having fun. It's drag racing on the sand with the Southern California Sand Dragsters.
It feels like a magic carpet ride. That's what it feels like.
When you step on the throttle on these things, it pretty much shoots you right out of a cannon.
So high, such a rush. I'll race anything. I'll race a piece of lettuce if you can figure out how to mount a motor on it.
Those things at the back aren't called tires, they're called paddles. They have names like Super Scooper, Hooker, and Bigger Digger. Sand dragging is as short as it is fast.
Acceleration. We only run 100 yards in length, but we get there for 60 foot, sometimes just under a second.
This is bracket racing. The results are based on reaction time and race time. Different size engines compete against each other using a handicap system.
The object is to run on the number 2.95 seconds.
The race organizers came up with 2.95 seconds because they wanted to boast a sub 3-second run. If you start too slow, or you go too fast, you can lose.
So the whole trick is getting them on the line and running a 295.
Paul Graham is a sand dragging veteran.
The acceleration is 2 to 3 Gs. Instant blast out of the hole. High gear, they just charge. You're on sand. It's a different surface than asphalt.
Like Paul, Larry Snow built his 1,800 horsepower dragster himself.
It gets your attention. When you get up in the lights and you wrap the R's and you're waiting for the tree to come down, It sounds like it's coming over the back to eat you.
Larry and Paul are old pals.
We've gone to the finals 3 times together. It's my turn to win one.
During this 2-day event, the old-timers are up against some fast company, like Billy Morris.
Larry and a couple of these other guys are really, really good family friends. But as soon as that helmet goes on, I'm here to take their heads off like the rest of them.
The track's looking real smooth and fast, so we're gonna go put one down there.
Young Zach Bogner saves his bravado for the racing.
It's one wild ride, that's for sure, because you don't really have much control of the car because it's on dirt.
Paul, Larry, Billy, and Zach have reached Sunday's elimination round.
Sundays, you lose, you go home.
Paul faces off with Zach.
That's the way we do it. So Zach had almost 200s advantage on the starting line. We won the round.
3.129. That's 7/100ths too slow. That's all it takes to lose. Now it's Larry's turn.
She got sideways. She climbed up on 2. I was down to one option, go over and throw the fuel at it, and that's all I could do to keep it on all 4 wheels. It's a bad deal, but I'll tell you what, it was a fun ride.
The final race is after sunset. It's down to Zach and Billy.
This is it, man. This is what we worked all this time for. I told you about Zach. That kid can definitely drive a race car.
Well, when we came here, we set out to race Billy Morris to the final, and here we are.
Me and him in the final really don't get much better than that this weekend.
We're going up against one of the fastest cars, so Zach's just got to stay on his game on the starting line, and let's do it.
It's a lopsided match. Billy's Sanddrager has nearly 1,000 more horsepower than Zach's. But remember, this is bracket racing. Reaction time is key. Zach grabs it.
Way to go, guys. Hell of a drag race.
That kid gets off that tree, doesn't he?
He does. Man, I'm so proud of him.
A difference of 4/100ths of a second.
I knew it was going to come down to a close shot. We gave it everything we had, but the better man won today.
That natural ability that I have is pretty amazing.
We just got to go back to the drawing board. Come out here next time with a vengeance.
Still ahead, some future race technicians suffer a setback.
Austin dropped a nut in the carburetor.
And what's up next? Don't ask Elio Castroneves.
I had that matrix moment that everything stops.
Elio Castroneves has won the Indy 500 3 times. So this year, the Brazilian was hoping Chevy's new Aero kit would help him earn a record-tying 4th championship. He wasn't expecting this much aero during his practice.
As soon as I went turn 1, the car snapped. It didn't seem that it's gonna be that bad, but suddenly it just gone. And this is the moment I was like, oh boy, I still with my eyes open that moment. This is where I close my eyes. I had that matrix moment that everything stops. I saw the skies, and that's when I closed my eyes, because every time you see the skies, nothing good's gonna come out of it.
Watch as Elio takes his hands off the steering wheel, preparing for impact.
Once you lose control, there is not much for you to hold in the steering wheel. It can actually damage your fingers or even break your wrist, and you don't have enough strength to hold it.
Unbelievably, Elio walked away without a scratch.
This is when I opened my eyes. I'm like, whoa, I am actually okay.
He was back racing the same day with the same engine, but in a different car.
Obviously, not something that you want to be looking at it, so this is the last time I'm going to be looking. But again, very lucky to be here.
Welcome to Gearhead College.
What's happening, children? How's everybody doing this fine Tuesday morning? My name is Mark Mullen. I'm an automotive instructor at Suncoast Technical College. This weekend, U.S. Street Nationals. I am looking for a few volunteers for over the weekend, and I'm also a drag racer. Friday, we're gonna test. Saturday, we're qualifying. Sunday, we're winning.
Mark is training the next generation of automotive technicians. And these high school kids have a unique opportunity to tune cars at the drag strip.
You're exceeding 130, 140 miles an hour. You have something go wrong because you missed one little detail, it could be disastrous.
These are the guys that make mega speed possible.
Pop.
Drop the bolt in the carburetor. Not a good thing.
Okay, maybe someday.
Are we kidding? No. Who dropped it? I dropped it. How's that happen? 4 minutes. It's been 4 minutes, right? One thing, pull a bolt out.
Get a magnet.
If the student did not mention that had just happened, and we were at the track and we fired the engine up, it would be catastrophic and we'd be pulling an engine out.
And Mark and his students just put a new engine in.
Got it. Oh yeah, sorry about that.
It's the weekend. Time for Mark and the boys to have fun. The teacher and his students are competing in the U.S. Street Nationals drag racing event at Bradenton Motorsports Park. Mark is at the wheel. The truck is firing on all cylinders. Mark's student mechanics are standing by. Mark appears happy, but he's still off his dial-in time of 7.5 seconds.
It's still acting fat. Too much fuel.
The carburetor is acting up.
We're going to run it exactly the way it is. All right. Pray. Group prayer.
Prayer. Hey, bring it in, bring it in, bring it in.
It's Sunday, race day.
Did the new jets, fixed the distributor cap, so now he's timing better. We took out the weights, and we're getting closer and closer to the 7.5.
When it comes to exams, schools don't get much faster than this.
He did pretty well, but it looks like you rolled a little too deep.
0.003 of a second. And I'm blaming it on I only ate one hamburger for lunch.
But lunch wasn't the only problem.
We actually got in trouble in the pit. I kept my 2010 U.S. Nationals license plate on the front of the car. Well, we just got told that we needed to fix that before the next round. So I got 7 of my best guys on it changing the license plate.
That's right. While the other pit crews are swapping out transmissions and replacing engines, what are these guys doing?
Putting on a license plate. You want to know why they're switching out transmissions? Because they're doing something wrong. We're doing everything right. So I'd rather be changing out a license plate than a transmission right now.
It's Mark's last heat. If he wins this, he'll race in the final. Time to check his marks. Mark and the boys come up short, but he didn't miss by much, just 0.003 of a second.
You know what sucks is no matter how hard I look at this, it's not changing. I kind of wish it would change. Hey,
but that's life in the fast lane, Mark.
Try to lick our wounds and see what happens next week.
Coming up, the fastest fool in England. And still ahead. It's always nice to have another set of eyes in the middle of the desert.
He can catch it sooner than I do. It gives me more of a chance to react.
The Mint 400 in Las Vegas, Nevada. America's premier off-road event has attracted rugged individuals since day one.
We're good. You're the Dark Knight. We're like white and we're the nice, approachable.
What's your Instagram? I'm inaccessible and angry.
Yeah.
Hunky Patrick Dempsey is usually acting on television, but his real passion is racing.
I think the real challenge is with yourself, to contain yourself emotionally and mentally and go past what you normally would physically.
And even TV stars can change a flat if they have to.
You changed the first two, and then the third one I changed.
Careful. You're committing yourself to getting dirty.
I'm not going to have any flats. Oh. I hope not. Please, God, I don't want any.
The original Mint 400 started in 1968 as a publicity stunt for the Mint, a legendary casino and hotel on the Las Vegas Strip. For 20 years, the course rattlesnaked its way 400 miles. From the Mint in Las Vegas to the Sahara Hotel in Lake Tahoe, California. In 2008, the race was reborn and rerouted. 3 laps of 126 miles. From Las Vegas all the way down to the California border, then back up again. It's 22 miles shorter, but it feels twice as long.
It's got a lot of history to it. This is where the competition is. Everyone that races off-road racing is here this weekend. It simply makes it the one you want to win. You don't want to go win a race where you got 10 competitors. You want to come win a race where there's 300 competitors.
There's 3-foot bumps at 100 miles an hour. There's rocky sections. It just takes a toll on your body physically, on your mind mentally.
Even with a map, this rough ride takes 2 sets of eyes. The driver is a co-pilot in this rolling torture chamber.
Typically, I'm looking anywhere from 100 yards back to right in front of the nose of the truck, and he needs to look further ahead of that and constantly be telling me what's coming up. If he can catch it sooner than I do, it gives me more of a chance to react and not hit the rock or the ditch or the parked car.
The co-driver is like an ice cube in a cocktail shaker. Keeping things cool while staying in one piece.
The co-rider is responsible for seeing the course on the GPS screen, calling out all the corners, making sure that he's repeating what he's saying so that I know exactly where I'm going and what's coming up, and calling out any potential dangers.
At 140 miles per hour, a rock can turn into a mountain. Co-drivers have to be ready to help, because the drivers are gonna need it. Just another quiet morning in Stamford, England. But that's about to change.
My name's Colin Furs, and I'm a garage inventor.
Right, God, it ain't light. So just got a few extra things to bolt to it, and we're good to go. Gas, leaf blower, seat, boom.
That's right, Colin has come up with a jet-powered go-kart.
It's not like your average go-kart. There's no engine, there's nothing driving the wheels. All the thrust and momentum comes from the old pulse jet here. The main throttle is run off diesel, or anything that burns really. Sounds good. I would hate to stand behind it. I mean, I'm in front of it and I can hear it thumping my eardrums. There are some heat being kicked out, but my seat's all right. That's a good start.
He's not really sure how fast the kart goes. He doesn't care. It's all about the experience.
It's not quite a Ferrari, but you can feel like the pulsing on your back. You like the so when you put your foot down, it's like a hammer drill on your back, really. It's quite nice. good run. Got a bit of a panic on, there's loads of smoke coming out of it, but of course it's the grass burning. I started looking, thinking, what could that be burning under there?
Colin made his money as a plumber. He lives in Stamford, at least in the physical sense.
This is proper coming together now.
Like all good English tinkerers,
Beautiful.
Colin's brain is inside this shed.
A little bit off there. My shed is basically where I spend all of my days, pretty much. One thing which I can say is that when I go in there, you could never predict what's going to come out of it.
Colin built this insane two-wheeler he calls his horse bike. He built this remote-controlled moving garbage bin.
Just be cruising in the bin. Cruising in the bin, boy.
But it's the jet go-kart that really gets him excited.
Right, I think we should see how fast it goes now. Let's push it back into its starting position.
The four-wheel fire hazard is actually started with a leaf blower and should probably never be far from a fire extinguisher either.
There we go! 50 plus? It's hard to tell, really, because you get jumped all over the place. You're sitting an inch off the ground, which is not normal. But, yes, it felt pretty rapid. The brakes ain't very good, though. They need a bit of attention. But other than that, I'm happy. Right, now we need a longer runway.
Ah, England, where the division between eccentricity and insanity is your line of credit. Still ahead on Mega Speed. Keeping Indy cars on the track is just a half turn away.
What we're hoping for is about 1 second faster.
Auto auctioneer Craig Jackson is not selling these beauties.
They're not just art. Because I have so many of these cars, I try to rotate and play with them.
When it comes to car racing, it's all about sticking to the track. Anton Julian is a crew chief for Josef Newgarden on the IndyCar circuit. He's also in charge of adjusting the new IndyCar Aero Kit. His mission is simple: go faster without flying.
We get to fine-tune a lot more and play with different levels of downforce and weight distribution and all those sort of things to help the car stick down.
Downforce is the reverse of flying. As the wind flows over the car, an inverted wing pushes the wheels down. And there are a number of adjustments that can be made, beginning with the adjustable front flaps.
At the start of the session, we set this wing flap here to a certain degree, and then we can adjust this one by turning this, and it brings this flap up higher, half a degree per turn. So it's a simple adjustment on the fly.
But which bit do you adjust?
Okay, this is the rear wing. We can adjust according to the downforce levels we require by adjusting the holes on the side for minimum and maximum downforce.
With 100 different downforce enhancing modifications.
What we're hoping for is to have the cars about 1 second faster.
The driver has no choice but to go with the flow.
A 1970 Hemi Cuda convertible. It is the only export car from 1970. It was exported to England.
Craig Jackson doesn't just know cars.
This must have been quite a spectacle over in England, painted psychedelic colors.
He loves cars.
But this is the pinnacle of a muscle car. It's everything in a convertible. Handles great.
You might recognize the name. Craig is the CEO of the Barrett Jackson Collector Car Auction. Craig has sold over $1 billion worth of cars.
My 8-track isn't working. Can't get Supertramp to play.
And over the years, he's bought a few.
Welcome to my personal garage. This is what we call the Rotunda. Well, I always wanted a garage at my house, and rather than just building a big box, and something that was architecturally that went with the rest of the house. I designed the Rotunda to house my personal collections of the cars that I don't drive every day. Put them in a show setting, and to really spotlight what is some of the feature cars. We also did a lot in technology of putting the touch screens so that I didn't have to have all the storyboards on every car and all the documentation to really make it more of an auto gallery at my home, but also functional. The turntable has a couple of functions. One, you can operate it as just a turntable, but also it's how we get all the cars in and out. You can run it all with your smartphone, and you just hit a number and it'll line the turntable up with the car. You drive in it, you hit door, and it turns to the door. It's pretty simple. They're not just art. Because I have so many of these cars, I try to rotate and play with them. A lot of these cars I've chased, I've wanted for a long time. A couple of them, as we walk around, I've bought from the original owners. So here's the Hemi Cuda when it came back to the US. This is when it was found in a stone barn in England.
And a couple of times he's been left holding the keys.
The Bugatti, for those that watched the auction, I ended up with it because the guy that bid on it walked away right after bidding on it. Red Cobra over there was the same thing. And I've had that car almost 2 decades now.
Can you have too many cars?
Yeah, you can, I think. I'm at the point where I'm at about almost 40 cars. It's my Ford GT. Nobody really knew what these were going to do, how many they were going to make. I just knew I wanted one. I think we should take this one out for a drive. It needs to be exercised. I bought it brand new, drove it 500 miles the first day so I would get it broke in. At 615 horsepower, I can spin the tires whenever I want if I just stab it. My son drove in this, and he got car sick in the car. I did not take it very easy on him because it was my new toy. It's better on the cars to drive them. You know, if you're gonna leave them sit around, you need to drain all the fluids out of them and all that. Everybody I know that's done that, when they put the fluids back in, they leak like a sieve. So the seals shrink. So I exercise all my cars. When I first got my driver's license, that was my first day of what I felt like freedom. You know, these cars are meant to be driven. You got to drive them. That's what they're here for.
At the Mint 400, the biggest competition is the desert. Andy McMillan's keeping good time. Until he hits a berm. Something's gone wrong on the rear quarter.
He had a flat tire, a rear flat tire. It did some damage to the rear panel.
Andy McMillan's dad, Scott, is the team owner.
He says it was flopping. Be prepared to take it off.
Out here, roadside assistance is an inside job.
Running here out in the desert here in California, if you have a flat tire, you can't leave your wheel and tire out in the desert. You have to bring it back on your truck.
Each tire weighs 85 pounds. That was 5 minutes Andy could not afford. He's dropped 10 positions. At least he's still on 4 wheels.
At race mile 84, he wants to let Bethlehem Desert know that somebody's upside down in the middle of the course.
I have accident information. So our car just reported at mile 84, there is a car upside down.
In a rare move, officials stop the race.
So they have stopped Rob at the start-finish line, told him to shut off the vehicle. To stop the race, it's obviously fairly serious.
The co-driver manages to get out, but he's going to need help getting his pilot out. A serious accident has halted the Mint 400. After a 20-minute delay, the race is back on. With the sun setting, the intensity is picking up in the pits.
Truck's on pit lane. Here he comes.
The crew can sense the veteran is about to make a move on the lead.
4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
That went well. I don't know the exact time on it yet. We put him in a position. It's in his hands now, and it's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be good coming to the finish.
With night falling, the trucks get some extra gear. The LED light rack is the ultimate high beam.
As the sun goes down, you can see out in the desert. The dust is just hanging in the air. It's all in the driver's hands now. They get the lights, they get to run in the lights with their lights, and ain't nobody better than Rob MacCachren. He's good at putting pressure. There's not a lot of guys out there that would want to have Rob MacCachren on your bumper in any race. It doesn't matter if it was go-karts or anything, because Rob's got a way to put the pressure on you.
But even Rob MacCachren can't avoid breakdowns. The crew receives word that he lost a transmission in the pitch black of the desert.
Looks like about mile, I don't know, between 45 and 50, we have a drivetrain problem. We think it's a transmission, and we're taking the parts out now.
While the crew scrambles to deliver a new transmission, Rob is likely out of the race. Meantime, Andy McMillan is driving blind with a light bar on the frets.
The light bar was gone. It tore a couple of the wires out. We pulled the plugs out.
And Jason Voss is struggling with a wonky transmission. At Rob's pit, just as they were getting ready to pack it up, they got word that they were back in it. Somewhere in the dead of night, Rob brought his truck back from the dead.
Well, what happened is he was actually leading with about 60 to go, and we thought we blew a transmission. It actually ended up being a drive shaft, which is a lot easier fix, and we have that part on the car. So about 10 minutes, they fixed it.
We were amazed too. It's a miracle Rob's truck gets back on the track. But his lead is gone. 2 trucks have passed him, and he needs a jet plane to catch up.
Your winner, Justin Lofton!
Justin Lofton and Derek Balkunas have the winning form with a time of just over 5 hours and 57 minutes. Just over 8 minutes behind, Rob MacCachren has to settle for third. But he did beat out his young rivals.
And I ended up losing a drive shaft. We got going again. We tried to make up time, but we were behind.
Andy McMillan's truck is 16th.
The average person, if they saw what we were doing right now, would be like, why are they out there doing that? I guess it's just for the love of off-road racing, is why we do it.
Jason Voss is 33rd.
We changed the transmission about mile 20 right off the start. So that was not the way we wanted to start it. You know, it looks like there's a bunch of mechanical issues out there, people broken down all over, people upside down on their side.
And actor Patrick Dempsey ended up 17th in his class. Of 300 entrants, only 68 finished.
It's a race mixed with a huge adventure. That's what off-road racing is really all about. Anybody that gets to this thing, whether they're the last guy here, that's a real accomplishment. I'll do it all over again tomorrow if we could. Well, that's what we do. Go home, do our homework, and be better next time.
Meanwhile, Mark's students are still driving him nuts.
Hands are in a pocket. Yeah, he thinks he's above the rules.
Craig Jackson is still driving in the past.
Handles great for 1970.
And Colin keeps driving the screws.